What's up, my friends? And I just finished Pokemon ZA, and I want to say that I did enjoy playing the game, even though there's a lot of issues with the game. And I played it on the Switch 2 version. So I have a script here. I've written down quite a large list of issues I found with the game, some of the things that I like about the game, and some of the more subjective things that I like and dislike about the games. And before that and afterwards, I will conclude on Pokemon ZA as a whole. I just want to mention that even though there's a lot of flaws with the game, I did still enjoy my time with Pokemon ZA. I think that the formula of Pokemon is still super fun. Like, the formula of Pokemon is just fun, you know, like capturing Pokemon, changing their moves, and then evolving it and using it in combat. I think the whole formula is still fun, but there's a lot of issue with the game, right? That a huge lack of effort from Gamefreak is a bit concerning, even though I still enjoy the game. And I think there's two reasons why I enjoy the game. Firstly, nostalgia. Secondly, it's just the formula of Pokemon. Like, the entire formula of Pokemon is just a very addictive gameplay loop. But I feel that if this was a game created by other indie companies, there will be a lot of people, like, you know, hating on the game, sort of, right? So I think the reason why Game Freak was able to pull this off and then put in sub-minimal effort into this game was largely due to the fact that it's a Pokemon game. It's gonna sell anyway. So it's concerning. I like Pokemon and I want the game to be good, but then Game Freak is like, you know, there's a lot of issue with the game. So I want to say that the gameplay footage will be mainly from Nintendo trailer and also from other gameplay footages on YouTube. I don't have a capture card. You can see here on my screen. I'm using my phone to record. I have completed most of the content in the game. I completed the main story. It took me about 20 to 30 hours. I done like 90% of the side quests. And also captured most of the Pokemons in the game. I'll talk about more in depth on the quests and the side quest things in later into the review.
Get ready for a citywide adventure in the world of Pokemon. Pokemon Legends ZA.
So there's a lot of talk on Pokemon ZA graphics. And to be honest, when I first played the game, the graphic was better than I expected in person. It was 4K in dock mode, I believe. The performance was super stable, no issue there on Switch 2. Fidelity wise, it looks really good, the colors, the effect. But when you look closely when you're playing the game, you do notice there's a lot of areas that are not super sharp. There's a lot of places that they copy paste, and there's no distinct art style. And I think there's a big issue for this game. Particularly because once you start noticing that the windows are copy pasted, the floors are copy pasted, and all around the street is sort of like copy pasted, and there are certain areas that are a bit sort of like blurry, it is hard to oversee that. So overall, with the lack of art style and sort of like a bare minimum graphic, although the graphic is better than previous Pokemon games, with all the other things that I'm gonna talk about in the review, the game just feels very soulless when you play it. When I first played, like the first few hours, I feel like, what the fuck am I playing? Like, the NPCs are all T-posting around the corner. They're all like not doing anything, and everything is like copy pasted. It's just like, what the fuck. But the game does get better as you continue playing on and you get more interesting Pokemons. But yeah, graphically and art style wise, it's not the best, I would say. If you're looking for those in this Pokemon game, definitely you will not get that. So another big issue that I always have with Pokemon games, and I thought they would resolve it here, and disappointingly they did not, which is voice acting. I feel that the cutscenes and the dialogue feels super weird, especially cutscenes. When you first boot up the game, right, there's quite a couple of cutscenes at the start of the game. I'm immediately thrown off, like, what the hell am I looking at? Because I thought my game was on mute. The characters are moving their mouth, but then there's no sound at all. And it's funny because a lot of like indie games way back already have voice acting or some sort of sound, you know, to indicate like this character is talking or this other character is talking. But there's no such thing here. And it just feels very backwards, very outdated in that sense. When you watch a cutscene, it just feels super awkward. There's no sound at all. It's literally pure silence. And during a dialogue and when there's multiple character on the screen, I don't know which character is talking. Like, you have to read the name, then read the dialogue box. Otherwise, like, if there's like two characters talking, because there's no sound to indicate which character is talking, like, it gets really confusing at the start, especially when you don't know especially when at the start I forget like the character names and stuff like that. It's so confusing, and I feel like a little bit of voice acting would elevate the game so much, to make the game so much better. And the story overall was kind of mid, but it gets better towards the end. Like, towards the end, the story sort of got darker in the sense that it got more serious, it was more interesting. But for like the first 20 hours, it was like pure fetch quest kind of story. Just go here, do this thing, go there, do that thing for the main quest. And there isn't a lot of main quests, okay? Mind you, there's only like 38 main quests before the game ends. And 9 out of 38 main quests are basically you going to defeat a rogue Mega Evolved Pokemon, and that is considered one main quest. And then there are main quests that are like, okay, rank up from rank C to rank B, and that's one main quest. And a lot of the main quests are pretty bad, but towards the end, the story does get better when it got more serious. But because of like the first 20 hours, the game not really like pushing the plot, towards the end you kind of like don't really care about the story at all, even though it does feel like it gets better and you go to more interesting areas, which I will not spoil. But it's just like, if they are able to push the first 20 hours to be more interesting, more story focused with voice acting, I think the story will be like pretty decent. But overall, like, the story is like kind of lacking. Kind of expected for a Pokemon game. Like, if you're looking for story, you don't play a Pokemon game for that. And I mean, there are some Pokemon games that do have pretty decent story, but this is, I don't think it's it, although it does get a bit better at the end. Another thing that I really dislike about the game was the WoW zones. I feel like they lack diversity. All of them feels like the same, like it's in the park or some car park and they all look the same, and you know like what type of Pokemons to expect in that area. They just like in that small enclosed area, and each of the WoW zones are not that interesting. You do get like 1 or 2 WoW zones that are like ice biome kinda, but that for the most part, most of the biomes are like just car parks or along the street, which I find it very disappointing. They could have pushed for more diversity in the WoW zones. Like, for example, one area there's a lot of like fire Pokemons in that WoW zone, causing it to have like, you know, magma erupting from the floor or something like that. And then certain areas are like super windy because there's a lot of wind Pokemon and stuff like that. I feel like they could have pushed for more of that theme. But overall, what they did was super disappointing. Like, all the WoW zones felt the same. There was nothing memorable, and I actually don't really like the concept of WoW zones. I feel like the Pokemons in the WoW zone areas, like, you can kind of expect like what Pokemons to catch. You don't really get surprised like, oh, I'm exploring this city and around the corner there's this like Pokemons appearing out of nowhere. But rather, you're more like going into a WoW zone and you know that, okay, there's gonna be like X number of Pokemons in this area. Whereas like if there's no WoW zones, I feel like it'll be much more interesting because like you're just exploring the city and then the Pokemon pop up, which will make things more interesting, and you're sort of like, you want to explore the corners of the city more. But yeah, overall the Wild Zone is just like a very disappointing implement in my opinion. I don't really like the Wild Zones. And the battle zones at night where you get like tickets for your promotions, I do like it because you get to battle with your Pokemons, you get to level Pokemons, but it's not that interesting. You just like doing the same thing, and the trainers that you fight are super easy to fight. Like you basically one shot them, so there's nothing very interesting there. So overall, like the battle zones and the wild zones are very disappointing. They lack diversity and it looks the same. So very disappointing, that fact. So I did mention about the main quest, which were a little bit lackluster. Similarly, the side quests are also very poorly done, as with all other Pokemon games. Like they are just all fetch quests, like fetch me this Pokemon and show it to me, or defeat me in a battle, or show me a Mega Evolved Pokemon, or like, you know, something like that. And it's like the same thing for like 100 side quests, which is terrible. I mean, there's a few side quests that are fairly interesting, especially the ones after you finish the game, the main story. There's a few side quests that actually are chain side quests, and they sort of like add upon the story of the side quests that you are doing. So towards the end, some of them are quite interesting, but for like the first 100 side quests that you are doing throughout the game, it's the same. You know, fetch this thing, go that area, take this thing. Very, very boring. But I do have to say that the rewards, some of them are quite rewarding. You get ability disc, you do get Pokemons that you couldn't get otherwise, or you can only get much later on into the game. So some of the side quests are rewarding to do, right? And I want to say that there's one side quest that gives you a Galarian Slowpoke that you cannot get in the game at all as of now. So yeah, some of the quests are very rewarding, but the quests are not interesting to do on its own, so that's a big disappointment. So yeah, I mentioned a long laundry list of things that I really dislike about the game, but I think the game did well in one particular area, which is the combat, which is not something particularly new. It's just something that is new in this game, okay? So the combat is a bit like Xenoblade combat or like MMORPG combat system. It's like a real-time combat that you can sort of walk around and manipulate your Pokemon position, and your Pokemon abilities are mainly restricted by the cooldown. Yes, you can strategize to like dodge enemy Pokemon attacks, to strategize when to switch out Pokemons, but the campaign is just so easy that I don't find any need to like time my attacks to dodge their moves. And what I ended up doing for most of my playthrough is just like spamming one attack to one shot the Pokemon, you know, like spamming Earthquake to one shot them, and just using my abilities whenever it come off cooldown. And I find that that strategy works, you know, for like the entire campaign. It does get button mashy, but I can see there's a possibility of like being more strategic in ranked battle, you know, timing your attack and switching out your Pokemons. But for most of the casual gamers, the combat is just gonna be very button mashy. You're just gonna spam your abilities when it come off cooldown, and there's not much strategy going on. But I think that the combat is a good step forward towards what I think modern Pokemon games should be, which is more action oriented rather than turn based. Although turn based game can still work today, as Expedition 33 shown. It's just that the formula for turn based, there isn't much innovation being done in a Pokemon area. Like, it's just like turn based, right? I think they could go either way, which is like a more action oriented turn based, something like Expedition 33, or they can do something what they did with Pokemon ZA, which is like a real time strategy Xenoblade style combat system, which I think was pretty well done here in this game. So overall, I will have to say that the combat is pretty decent in ZA, but there's still much improvement to be made. I do think that I like Arceus' combat a bit more. Like when you're fighting the boss, you as the trainer has to throw the bomb or some like Pokeball stuff at the boss to calm them down. before you can summon your Pokemons. I do like the aspect. It's a bit more action, it's a bit more Souls-like. I also like in Arceus, the research points to fill out a Pokédex are a little bit more organic. You have to observe the Pokemons, feed them berries, catch them in a certain way. In Arceus, the aspect of catching Pokemons and filling up the Pokédex is more interesting, and it's the right direction they are moving in. But then sadly in ZA, they sort of remove that element, which is a bit disappointing because I really like that in Arceus. It makes me really more immersed in the world when I catch the Pokemons, not just to fight them and then catch them, but to do more than that. So I really like that in Arceus, but sadly they did not put it into ZA. So another thing that I don't like about ZA, the reason why I leave it until the end is because it's a bit subjective, and I think some of you guys might disagree, some of you guys might agree, but I don't like the Mega Evolve. So firstly, I don't like the Mega Evolve design. Some of the Pokemon's Mega Evolve design are terrible, like Totodile looking like a toilet bowl. Like some of the designs are cool. I do think that Vitraby Mega Evolve is cool. I do like Starmie Mega Evolve. Some people don't like it, which I mean it's a personal taste kind of thing. And other than the design, right, which some of the designs are honestly very disappointing. It's like so bare bones. It's worse than ChatGPT design. The another thing that I don't like about Mega Evolve is that I would much prefer it to be like a permanent evolve, you know what I mean? It's like right now we are evolving the Pokemon, and you get to evolve your Pokemon to like the final stage very early on, like around level 30, 40, you get to evolve it. And then the Mega Evolve is sort of like a one-time buff that you activate, and then your Pokemon Mega Evolve, and you can only Mega Evolve one Pokemon at a time until the Mega Evolve runs out, then you can Mega Evolve the other Pokemons. I don't like that. I feel that it doesn't excite me as much if it were to be like a permanent Mega Evolve, so I can walk around the city and I have my Mega Evolve Pokemon and it looks really cool, as compared to like only in combat then I Mega Evolve and it's like it only lasts for 30 seconds or something like that. It doesn't excite me. I don't think it's a very well implemented thing. So overall, I am a little bit disappointed with the Mega Evolve, especially when the selling point of ZA is the Mega Evolve. So last but not least, another thing that can be a bit controversial is that it's a live service kind of game, which I think does have good things and bad things for a game, right? What we can expect to see is more updates going to the game. What you can expect is more updates coming to ZA. Perhaps new content, I don't know, is it free or unpaid? But some of the Pokemons like Greninja being locked behind having to play ranked battle to get the Mega Evolve Stones is a bit disappointing. Yes, you can get the Mega Stone after the season ends, which is around 6 months or so, and then it will be available in the shop to buy with your Mega Shards. But 6 months, man, just to get Greninja. I feel like the seasons are also super stretched out for some reason, because you can get rank A fairly quickly in the rank mode, but the seasons are like 6 months long, so I can imagine there's not much to do once you are completed with the game and you are rank A in the rank battle mode. So the length of the season seems a little bit too long for my liking. So that means in order for me to get Chestnut Mega Evolution, I have to wait 1.5 years, because that will be the third season where you can get the Mega Stone for him, right? So it's unbelievably long, and I think they might do sort of like a live service kind of style to ZA. Not sure how they'll monetize it, whether they'll monetize it or will it be like free updates, because we did see a DLC for ZA already, like pre-order is out, so not sure how the game is gonna be like. But I don't like that the Mega Stones are locked behind having to play online, because firstly you have to get Nintendo Switch Online, which costs money. Secondly, like I'm buying for a single player game, but in order to get the Mega Evolution I have to play rank modes, I mean, I don't get it. Like, why are you locking for Ninja behind the rank mode? I mean, it's not difficult to get to rank K where you can get the Mega Stone, but still it's locked behind the rank mode, which frankly I dislike that. But to some people, they do like live service in games because it makes the game more relevant for a longer period. You know, like you can keep playing the game and it stretch up the lifespan of the game, so-called. So there can be good things if they consistently update the game with content, but I just dislike the aspect of live service in general. But that is a bit subjective and controversial, and we shall see how it goes. But I think that I don't really trust Gamefreak to do this well enough, that we shall see how it goes. But yeah, I'm a bit pessimistic about this aspect of ZA. So let's conclude before I give the verdict. I think that overall I did enjoy playing Pokemon ZA. The graphic was better than I expected. However, it lacked art style, and the lack of voice acting significantly hurt the story and the overall game. The game feels very soulless. Everything looks the same in the city. The city is extremely small, and especially with the wild zones all looking the same, it does get a bit soulless after a while. I do think that the combat is pretty good, and I hope that they step forward in that direction and also implement things from Arceus, which I really like. I also don't really like the Mega Evolution in this game, and also the fact that some of the stones are locked behind ranked battle mode. But overall, I think it's an okay game. I enjoy my time here because partly nostalgia and also the Pokemon formula, but there's a lot of things that are lacking effort from Gamefreak, which is frankly very disappointing considering that this is one of the biggest franchise in gaming. So I would give this game like a 6 at most out of 10. Slightly above average, and I think if there's voice acting and better art style, it definitely can score much higher. But at this point, at this current stage of the game, I can only give it, the highest I can give it is a 6 out of 10. I think it's an okay game, but it's not a game that warrants $70 US. I think if you can get it at a lower price or wait for a while, or like, you know, get a second-hand copy for a much lower price, I think this game is still okay. Maybe around $40. I think that's the price point I would pay at most for this game. It does feel like an extension or like an experimentation game from Gamefreak to try and get more cash from Pokemon fans, and for that reason I am frankly very disappointed with Gamefreak. I might not even pre-order their next game, to be honest. But yeah, I think this game is okay, but you know, it's very disappointing regardless. So let me know how you think about the game, and have you played it, and what are your thoughts. Let me know in the comments down below, and I see you guys next time.